Welcome to the Mountain Valley News Pigskin Preview. I'm Monk Blevin, this is Logan Wright, and we're back with you again for another high school football season. Logan, it is football season.
Best time of the year. I've been waiting for it all summer.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's exciting. One thing I want to throw a little plug in for our magazine. Our preview magazine is in, so any of you guys that want to, if you have a subscription, you can come by our office and pick up the magazine. You can also go by Sylvania Drugs and Eider Drugs and get one. If you don't have a subscription, they are $5, or you can buy a subscription for $12 that will run from now through February, and then you'll get a magazine free. So just come by and sign up for our newspaper. We got a lot of good things going on, and I guess one of the things, if you look on the magazine, you can see Bum is back.
Bum, bum, bum.
So Bum Pickens is going to be back this year, and we're excited to have him. And you know, I can remember when I was in school, I was so excited to get the newspaper each week and to be able to read what Bum was going to say.
I remember
that
checking
week.
it in the field house my senior year. Every week we had to see if we were picked to win or not.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead. I'm going to open the magazine up. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the teams. You know, the first team I guess we're going to talk about is the Collinsville Panthers. And, you know, Collinsville comes in. They went 6-5 last year, and they did make it to the playoffs. And, you know, Coach Jeremy Willingham has done a great job down there. And, you know, they have got some great players coming back this year. You know, Dallas Reed, the Blakely kid, Tyler Blakely, and so what do you think about this Collinsville team?
They definitely have some offensive weapons with Dallas Reed. I think he's running like a 4.5 or a 4.6 now. That's crazy for around here. That's like SEC
absolutely.
speed, and he can fly. And I really look for him to be an offensive weapon for them this year. I know he plays wide receiver, so he's not going to get as many touches as a running back per se, but like last year they used him. They try to get a lot of reverses in there and wide receiver screens. And Blakely, he's a weapon on defense as well. He's a great outside linebacker, I believe he is.
Oh, absolutely.
And what we always talk about when we talk about Collinsville is their size. It seems like they just reload every year, and they get bigger and bigger, it seems like.
You know, one of the things, looking Coach Willingham, you know, they have about 4 returners on offense this year, but they've got about 9 returners on defense. So, you know, one of the things I think that's going to help Collinsville, their defense is going to be a little better than it has been in the past. So, you know, I look for Collinsville, you know, if they can stay healthy. And, you know, last year, you know, they got their quarterback hurt in the middle of the season, and that kind of hurt them. But if this Collinsville team can stay healthy, I think they've got a chance of making the playoffs again. What do you think?
I believe it'll be close. We talked about them last year about the same way, how we thought they should make a playoff berth. They're in a really tough region with Fife and all those other tough 2A schools. But I think it's possible for them. It's definitely possible. They have the weapons and they have the size. Like you said, a big thing is just if they stay healthy, and they have to win key games. We saw that a lot last year. They lost a couple of key games, but I think they can really build off that season because as a Collinsville Panther, that was a better year than they've been having. And I think they can really build off that this year.
Absolutely. You know, they'll be facing the Crossville Lions this week in week 1. And, you know, let's talk a little bit about Crossville. You know, Crossville comes in and, man, you know, they struggled last year. They finally did win that first ball game after, 2 years, I guess. And but, you know, the coach has left now, and Miles Holcomb has taken over. But, you know, the one thing that's going to really hurt them this year is they have moved up to a 5A.
And a very difficult schedule with that 5A.
Absolutely. And, you know, so, you know, they do have some returning players coming back. You know, they've got the Porter kid back at quarterback, which he had a good season last year, you know, and I think a couple of the receivers are back. So they've got a chance of being able to move the football, you know, and, you know, this game against Collinsville this week with Crossville, that'll be a, you know, that'll give us a kind of an idea of where Crossville is at, I think. So what's your thoughts on Crossville going into this season?
I think they're going to have to work. It's going to be a really tough season moving up like that. But if you look at their schedule right here, they're playing Sylvania and Geraldine. They have some winnable games if they buckle down.
Absolutely.
So they have the potential to, you know, they won 1 game last year, I believe. They can, I want to say, make that record a lot better this year. They have, because they're not just playing all these tough 5A teams, but playoff berth would be extremely hard with their region. I'm not going to say they can't do it because, you know, as we know around here in football, anything is possible.
Oh, that's exactly right. You never know, you know, about these games, but I will say, you know, after the Collinsville game, you know, they've got Scottsboro, they've got Arab. Of course, Douglas is a winnable football game. Sylvania is a much improved football team, I think, this year. Boaz, you know, Gunnersville. Gunnersville is a team that's in the playoffs every year.
year.
Etowah, we know about Etowah. They're always in the playoffs. And Alexandria, and of course, you got Geraldine at the end. This team could win 3 or 4 ball games if, just
if the cards fall right.
If the cards fall right. So, that's going to be it's going to be a tough season for them, and just having to move up in 5A, and playing with the teams that we just kind of called off. I mean, that's going to be tough, but we'll see how that falls out. Next we're going to talk about the Geraldine Bulldogs. Geraldine comes in after last year, man, they had a good football team, and the Jimenez kid at running back has gone this year.
Yeah, that's going to hurt them.
But I'm telling you, this Geraldine team has still got some kids that can play. The Willoughby kid is back at running back, and he's going to be tough. And then they've got the Brandon Bright, who is a defensive kid that they say is going to be really good. So what's your thoughts on this Geraldine team?
I've watched their jamboree, actually. I covered that game for the paper, and they lack size. They have Miles Gwynn, who's a great athlete. He's a great lineman. We've seen him make an impact last year in a few games, not just the Plainview game. I think he picked up a fumble or something like that, and he returned it.
Yeah.
But he has size, but they really lack size. So if they want to make an impact this season and have a winning season, they're going to have to do what we've seen Geraldine teams do in the past and just rely on speed and toughness, because we know they really run that double wing T we see a lot on the mountain.
Oh, absolutely. That's one thing. When you think about Brad Waldrop, he is a disciple of Coach Benefield, and when he was at Sylvania, and they're going to be hard nosed, and they're going to run the football, and they're going to run that double wing, and it's going to be trying to figure out where the football's at. So, this Geraldine team, and of course, when we talk about Geraldine, they're in the region with Plainview, they're in the region with Sylvania. And all these teams are going to be good this year. And so
I think this year we have we kind of know where everyone sits a little better. We had a bunch of new coaches last year, and we didn't really know who to pick. I know picking was extremely hard for me because it was you can flip a coin week in and week out, because in that region we had so many, Plainview beat Geraldine and so back and forth. But I think this year we have a lot better recognition of where they're going to be.
You got Pisgah, who seems to be improved this year from the game last week. New Hope, I know they lost, the quarterback and the running back, I think.
Yes.
But this is going to be a tough region for Geraldine, and I think they've got a chance of making that playoff run. We'll just see how that shakes out. But they're opening up the season with the Fife Red Devils, and and we talk about Fife, and I mean we
at least they're getting out of the way early, right?
Yeah, it seems like every year that we say the same thing about Fife, but Fife made it to the state championship game last year. They fell a little bit short in that game, and but man, they've got players stacked up everywhere.
Their third string running backs there would be starters at any other school around here.
Oh, absolutely. Dylan Kilpatrick coming back at running back, man, and what can we say about him?
He put on a show last year.
Absolutely. I mean, he is just unstoppable. The one key I think this year coming back for Fife is Will Mashburn. He got hurt early in the season, was out for the season, and Benefield filled in at quarterback great, and I think Benefield would be fine at quarterback this year. But they missed Mashburn on defense.
Definitely.
And on special teams.
He was a key special teams player, but I'm really interested to see how Coach Benefield deals with having so many star athletes, because does he put his son Seth at quarterback, or the returning starter that's no longer injured? I think their problem this year is going to be filling in the spots, who's going to play good this game, and because every one of those kids deserves playing time, as great of athletes as they are.
Oh, absolutely. Peyton Anderson, that's another kid we haven't talked about. I think he's probably 11th grader, 10th grader. And, man, he is a great running back.
Massive.
Yes, very good. And so they're going to be loaded. And, we talk about Peyton Henderson in that semifinal game last year. Peyton pretty much, he intercepted the pass down as the other team was driving and kind of won that ball game for him. So this team, of course, we don't expect anything any different from Fife every year.
Exactly.
We expect them to win. Coach Paul Benefield has done a fantastic job at Fife, and we can't say enough about what he has done and about this Fife football team. And I don't expect anything less than another run for a state championship.
Exactly.
I'll be really
He's calling it
surprised.
the first lick again. He did this last year.
I just
looking at their schedule, I just don't see anybody on there that can stay with them. So, I'll be surprised if this Fife Red Devil team doesn't go a long way this year. The next team we want to talk about is the Fort Payne Wildcats. And, of course, I know you went down to Fort Payne Friday night, and they met a Chattooga out of Georgia, and which was a really good football team.
They were very gifted with athletes. They had some size on them. A couple of them, I think you were about to say, are being recruited right now.
Yeah, I think what my understanding was there maybe was 4 on that team that is Division 1A players. Yeah. And so, Fort Payne is young this year. They're a little bit younger than, and we don't, man, some of the players they lost, Desmond Turner. I mean, man, he was the do-it-all for them last year.
He seemed like their whole offense last year.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and so I know this Fort Payne team. I had them on, listened to it on the radio a little bit, and one of the things that Coach Paul Ellis said was, Fort Payne fans are going to have to be patient because this is a young team, and one of the things he talked about was in the spring game, they started 2 9th graders, which are 10th graders now, and they started 2 8th graders, which are 9th graders now. And I don't know how that shook out for the first game, but they're very young. But he said they're very talented. And so
they seemed to struggle a lot in the first half. I mean, it just kind of seemed like they weren't really for sure where they were going. Like we watched Paul Benefield's team, and they know as soon as you tell them to play what they're doing, who they're blocking, how they're going to do it. Seemed like they weren't really for sure. Their only offensive points in the first half came from a 44-yard bomb that their kicker kicked. And they do have a very talented kicker. I'll say that from watching that the other night. I think he missed like a 47-yarder by about a foot left. He had the leg under it, which is a college kick any day of the week.
Yeah. One of the things they've got J. Tyler Ellis, and that's Coach Paul Ellis' son at quarterback, who started last year, and he did a great job. He was injured, in the season too, but I think they're gonna have to lean on him a lot this year till some of these other kids get some experience. They've got a couple of good guys back on the offensive line, the 2 starters on the offensive line that can anchor that offensive line for them. So, it's going to be, they face Scottsboro this week, and this Scottsboro team, man, they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough. We start talking about quarterbacks, and Coach Nick's son is quarterback in that team, and I think he's a 10th grader this year, and man, he's already being recruited by everybody. I mean,
they have a very talented running back too,
yes,
I believe, from last year.
And a very talented wide receiver. So that's going to be a good ball game to watch this week. That would be one of those if you get a chance to go over to Scottsboro, I think you'll see an exciting football game. Next, we will talk about the Plainview Bears. Plainview comes in after a big win at Sardis last week, and that game. You can see the score, and it was 20-7. But going into the fourth quarter, it was 7-6. Yeah. And so, this team has got some talent. Bailey Duke back at quarterback, and I think if he can stay healthy, he is going to be a really, really good quarterback.
We have Jacob Wooten coming in at linebacker. I think Plainview by far has the best set of core linebackers around here. Have Jacob Wooten and Colton Farmer.
Yes.
Both of them have played for years in the linebacker position. They know their reads. They're great linebackers, and they're starting to bring a little more pop. And we talk about the win at Sardis, which is a great win for Plainview, but it cost them. I believe I talked to some of their players the other day, and it was like 10 or so athletes got injured. I know Clay Cooper, they're thinking he has a torn MCL right now, and that's really going to hurt them if Clay's gone because he's a great athlete on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely. I did hear, and from just talking to some people, the young Juan Marquez stepped in and did a pretty good job of running the football, and I think he's just a 10th grader. You start looking at the roster, and Jake Black is coming back. He was a starter, and they've got some kids that up front that can open some holes, and one of the kids we want to talk about, and this is his first year. It's probably not his first year to play, but he did not play last year. Is
Dylan Scott.
Dylan Scott, and man, this kid is a big old kid, and I understand he had a fantastic game on defense and batted a few balls down, and then actually called a pretty good long pass, about a 40-yarder for a touchdown.
He definitely has size on him,
and so he's gonna be a weapon, and that they can lean on this year. So I look for big things for this Plainview team. last year they opened up the season and they had to travel down to Glencoe was the first game, and so and then they had North Sand Mountain coming in. North Sand Mountain knocked them off, and it's pretty easy. Like we said, if you win, you kind of get some momentum, and it feels good, and you just keep winning. But
they went on a roll last year.
Yeah.
Not many expected them to. I know a lot of people after that first Glencoe game, because that was a very talented Glencoe team.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of the Plainview fans were sort of iffy because Plainview's used to winning.
Yeah.
And in any sport, they want to win. They're used to it, and a lot of people get upset when they don't. But late in the season, they kind of made believers out of all of us. They kind of turned it around, and they had a better record and ended up with a playoff berth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think this team, winning this first game, that's going to be a big momentum for them, and I look for this Plainview team to compete in the region this year. So we'll see how that shakes out. The next team we want to talk about is the Ider Hornets, and I tell you, Coach Brent Tinker he's just one of my favorite guys. And he does a great job coaching with Ider, and one of the things, talking to him a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about the team started out 4-0 last year, and they were 4-1 at one point, and man, they started they got started getting hurt, and started having to move players around, and boy, it just they finished the season at 4-6, but they had a better football team than their record.
They were very plagued by injury. As you talk about, and I think one of the things this year is going to be their depth, because injuries are going to happen in a season. And it was really tough on them because they didn't have the skill players that they needed. They, like you said, they started having to move people, and people start playing both ways, and that takes a lot out of you. But I think if this team can stay healthy, they're going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Oh, absolutely.
They started to last year.
Yeah.
And I think they'll finish it this year.
They got the Lasker kid is coming back at quarterback, and he's a big kid and with a big arm, and they've got Chase Byram, who is a huge. He went to some camps this year, but he's a big kid, and he's going to be able to open some holes for him. Jacob Higdon, who come in in the 8th grade from Valley Head, and his dad was a coach at Valley Head, and the coach is really high on him, and he'll be playing linebacker, and he looks the part. I haven't seen him play, but just looking at him, he is a specimen, and I think we're going to see big things out of him this year. So this Ider team has got a chance if they can stay healthy, and I think that's the key to any team in DeKalb County is you have to stay healthy, maybe other than 5.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know, 5 could lose a few and still be on top.
Yeah, but with most schools, I think, it's a matter of staying healthy. So, they're going to be facing Valley Head this year. Valley Head comes in, they have a new coach. They got a coach from Douglas coming in this year. And, of course, Valley Head struggled last year.
Yes, sir.
And, they have got some kids on that team, starting with Devin Leaps. We talked about him a lot last year. He
was a huge rusher.
Absolutely. One game he had 6 touchdowns and over 300 yards rushing. They've got Justin Blansett is a kid who is a senior this year on the offensive line, and he has been all over the United States,
yes,
basically camping this summer. He was at Dallas Cowboys Stadium for an all-star camp, and so there's some people looking at this kid, and so they have got a chance of
It seems like Valley Head always has a few choice athletes every year that really have potential to go play somewhere. It's just, I think they need more depth. They need more kids out for the football team. It looks a little slim when you look at the magazine.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the things, and again, is just, being able to stay healthy, especially with like a Valley Head who, probably, I don't know, I haven't counted the number of players they got, but they don't have a lot of backup. And but head coach Brian Knapp has come in from Douglas, where they were a 5A, and he was actually the winningest coach in Douglas history. And so we'll see how this shakes out. This Valley Head team, they may surprise some people this year. The next team we want to talk about is the Sylvania Rams, and Sylvania. Man, we talked about last year, and I think we both were excited about Sylvania last year, and Coach Matt Putnam coming in to take over that program, and man, they had the athletes last year, but they couldn't hold on to the football.
It seemed to plague them every year, or I don't want to say every year, in the past few years, there were so many games last year they should have won, and they came so close to winning. Like, you go back and look at that Plainview game. If they win that game, the whole region is shook up.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam Mueller jumped over a kid in the last 2 or 3 minutes to score the only touchdown of the game, I believe it was. And it was just those little things, you know, when you got your foot on the gas pedal, you got to keep it there. They had trouble finishing, really, I think.
Yeah, and I spent a little time with Coach Putnam back at the Wing Fest, and one of the things he told me was, you know, that they didn't know how to win. They, you know, when they got a lead, they didn't know how to finish. They just didn't know what to do with a lead, you know, and so I think you're going to see that I think that's going to be a little bit different this year. I think you'll see them, you know, with another year in the program with Coach Putnam. I think you're going to see that, and my understanding was in their jamboree this last Friday night, they had a great game. I think they beat
Priceville, I believe it was.
41-0, I think, or something like that. So, you know, this team, they have got some talent. You know, when we talk about Caleb Roebuck,
he's probably the best athlete in the county.
I don't doubt that. I think he is, you know, he is going to be huge. Hunter Hill is another one that the coach had mentioned that's going to be a really good athlete. And, you know, they've got athletes on this team. They've
Dylan
got
Dacus is another
Dacus,
one.
yes.
Dylan
Dacus,
the quarterback,
yes.
right?
Absolutely. And so, you know, I look for big things from this Sylvania team. And, again, you know, they're in that region. And we talk about North Sand Mountain, Plainview, and Geraldine and all those. And, man, what a tough region that's going to be. And I think, you know, it's going to be another one of those years when we talk about them. It's going to be, you know.
Be another toss-up, I think.
Toss-up every week. So, but I think you'll see this team much improved. If nothing else, I think you'll see them hanging on to the football. You won't see them turning it over in critical situations, I don't think. You know, next we'll talk about the Pisgah Eagles. You know, Pisgah comes in. They hired a new coach. Their coach transferred, actually, is the offensive coordinator at Plainview now. And they got head coach Anthony Jacks coming in and as the coach. And, you know, they played section on Friday night, and I think they won that game. I think it was 38-0. And so, you know, this Pisgah Eagle team, they're another one, you know, in this same region that's got a chance, has got a chance of making some noise.
They have a very good returning quarterback in Audie Smothers. I got to cover a few of their games last year, and he was one of the better throwing quarterbacks. I put him right up there with Bailey Dukes from Plainview. I know Bailey made a lot of key throws last year, but so did Smothers. Pisgah has athletes in and out. I mean, they always have a very aggressive line, and one thing you always notice about Pisgah is some of their offensive linemen are always playing linebacker. We always talked about that when we played Pisgah. They always had huge linebackers.
Right.
But I'm not for sure. I haven't seen this. Didn't get to watch their jamboree. I haven't seen how this coach coaches, you know, what his offensive schemes are. But usually with Pisgah, they throw a lot of screens, and they have a quarterback that can do that, and they sure have the skill players.
Oh, absolutely.
They're another toss-up, I believe, in that region.
Yeah, you talk about their skilled person, you know, Jordan Jeffrey. We talked a lot about him last year, and, you know, he's returning at running back for them. And I think this team, again, you know, this region, man, from week to week, it's going to be tough, and you know, we just don't know. I think this is probably one of the stronger regions in the area, or you know, they're matched up really close anyway. So next team we'll talk about is North Sand Mountain. You know, North Sand Mountain comes in, and I tell you, they are, you know, Coach Jeff Monroe. I just went blank. You know, he retired after last year after having the best season, I guess, that probably one of the best seasons that North Sand Mountain has ever had.
They gave Madison Academy a run for their money in the playoffs. I covered that game. And they really did. They were moving the ball on them. I don't think they realized how close they were to winning that game. Had they been used to it, I believe they could have, you know, gave Madison Academy a run for their money.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I think with this North Sun Mountain team, you know, in their jamboree Friday night, they actually beat a 5A Fairview. And they scored with just a few seconds left in the game, and you know, and Coach Jack decided to go for the 2-point conversion and win it, and did, and they beat them 15-14. So this Pisgah team has got some talent. I mean, this North Sand Mountain team has got some talent.
Very careful, they're rivals right there.
And but I tell you, you know, they've got some players back. The big fullback is coming back this year, and so it's gonna be great. You know, we talk about the section lines, and you know, section comes in, and man, you know, they struggled last year. you know, and opened up with Pisgah and struggled in that game. And I think they've got their hands, you know, it's gonna be a tough season for them.
Definitely.
You know, they have got some good players coming back. And they've got a chance to, you know, maybe winning some football games. But you know, they're gonna have to step it up. You know, in the region they're in with Fife and those guys. I mean, it's just
Collinsville too.
Yeah,
Collinsville's
absolutely.
another one in that region.
That's going to be tough, but you know, we'll see how that shakes out. You know, I know this Pisgah team is pretty talented, and so maybe they'll match up with some teams that you know that'll be more in their region or whatever. But you know, it's I'm just excited football season is back. You know, and you know we've got our picks this week, and you know this is the first week actually, and you know, so
We figured out Monk cheated last year.
So-
It's the only way he won.
So I think we want to, you know, I think we're ready now to just talk about our picks this week. So let's just go down the line and let's just pick them. So our first game, we've got Crossville will be traveling to Collinsville. Who you got in this one?
I'm taking Collinsville. I feel like they're just too talented. They have too much size, and hopefully they're going to start winning. They started last year, but they really need that really defining season to build them up to a program. And I don't see Crossville being able to stop their offense. Collinsville's offense has too many weapons, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm going with Collinsville too. I think this will be a close football game. I think you're going to see this Crossville team, you know, with their coach Miles Holcomb being there, and he is a Crossville guy, and you know these guys are going to play hard for him. And so I think this will be a close game, but I think Collinsville's probably going to pull that one out. Our next game, we got Geraldine traveling to Fife. Who you got in this one?
Tough one. I don't feel like we've seen some great Fife Geraldine games in the past, but I don't feel like Geraldine's up to par this year. I feel like they're lacking a lot of weapons on offense and defense. I feel like Fife's just going to be too much for them.
Yeah, I'm going with Fife too. You know, again, this Fife team, you know, they're loaded everywhere, and like I said, I think Geraldine, you know, they lost some key players from last year, so I look for Fife to have a pretty easy time with Geraldine. Our next game, we got Fort Payne traveling to Scottsboro, and I think this is going to be a great football game, even though you know Fort Payne lost to Chattooga, but as you said, you know. This Chattooga team was pretty loaded with some talent. So
I think this game really depends on which Fort Payne team shows up. If it's the Fort Payne team from the first half, then Scottsboro has it hands down. But if the Fort Payne from the second half comes out, they fought back. They almost won that game. They cut it to 3 twice in the second half. But I feel like Scottsboro is going to be too much. They've got some great returning starters, and I feel like Scottsboro is going to be the top cat this year.
yeah, I'm going with Scottsboro too. I think playing at Scottsboro and this Fort Payne team, you know, with some of the young players they've got, I think it's going to take them just a little while to get the system down and start really clicking on all cylinders. Next, we got Sandrock traveling to Plainview. Who you got in this one?
I know a little bit about the Sandrock team. I got to watch a few of their games last year. I know they lost a lot of starters, including their quarterback last year. So I know they're going to be trying some people out of new positions, and they're still going to be trying to figure some stuff out. And I'm going to go with Plainview in this one.
I'm going with Plainview too. I tell you, this Plainview team, again, I just think they've got the talent to win several ball games this year, and I think they'll be a little too strong for Sandrock. You know, next game we got Ider traveling to Valley Head. Who you got in this one?
I look for the Hornets to start this season out on the right foot, and they're really going to try to make a big show of this game, I think, to get some fan base. I'm going to go with Ider.
I'm going with Ider too. I just think this Ider team's probably you know, with Coach Brent Tinker there, and he's been in that. They've been there for years now, and they're in that system. And with Valley Head's new coach coming in, I'm not sure, you know, how much they have caught on to his system yet, and so I think this Ider Hornet team will handle them pretty well. Next, we have Sardis traveling to Sylvania. Who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with Sylvania in this one. I talked to some of their coaches during spring training, and they told me that they're where they were last year in the middle of the season as far as offensive schemes and stuff. I feel like this Ram team is really going to be one to watch out for this year now that they've had a year under their belt and they really know the kids. So I'm going to go with Sylvania.
I'm going with Sylvania too. I think this will be a close football game. You know, Sardis has got a great quarterback, but I think this Sylvania team is out to prove this year that, hey, you know, we're a better football team than what we showed last year. So I look for Sylvania to come out and be rolling. So our next game, we got Pisgah traveling to Locust Fork. So who you got in this one?
This one was a really hard pick for me. I know these teams are very similar. They had a very similar record last year, but I feel like Pisgah has another year under their belt. I know they got a new coach, but I feel like they have a lot more experienced players than they did last year. So I'm going to take a gamble, and I'm going to go with the Pisgah Eagles.
Oh, okay. Well, this one was a tough one for me. I don't know a lot about Locust Fork. I know they have had some good teams in the past, and I took Locust Fork only because they're playing at home. And so I hope the Pisgah Eagles prove me wrong on that one, though. Next, we've got North Sand Mountain traveling to Dade County. Who you got in this one?
Well, we talk about how good this North Sand Mountain team is, but like Dade County's a little out of their league. They're a much bigger school, and they have a lot bigger talent pool. So I'm going to go with the Dade County Wolverines.
I'm going with Dade County too, but I really think this will be a close football game. This North Sand Mountain team, again, as we talked last year, they may be the surprise team in
They
this
were the
area.
Cinderella
again
story
this
last year.
Absolutely. But I'm like you. I think with the talent that Dade County has, just a bigger school, that they'll have a tough time with North Sand Mountain. Have a tough time with them. So I'm going with Dade County also. We're gonna step out. We got 2 college games, and these are really strange college games. But we've got California. University of California will be playing Hawaii in Sydney, Australia. So who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with California. I'm not for sure why, but hopefully they'll pull it out, and I'll be ahead in the picks.
Yeah. Well, I struggled with this, and I took California. I do know Hawaii has got the top, or actually is the top quarterback in the nation, who is actually committed to Alabama right now. So, that worries me a little bit, but I'm going with California because I just think they probably have some more talent. And the next game we got is Charleston Southern at North Dakota State. And, of course, I guess North Dakota State is the defending champion. They beat Jacksonville State last year. And Charleston Southern actually had a great season. They played Alabama last year. They were 9-1 at the time. Of course, they were out of their league with Alabama. But then they actually won, I think, maybe the first round of the playoffs, and then got beat by Jacksonville State.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think this will be a really good game to watch. If you're not doing anything, tune into this game, because I think it's very loaded. And a lot of their players, people don't realize, just as easy could be in the SEC right now. They have great players at both these schools. I hate to do it, but I'm going to have to pick North Dakota State, even though they beat my Gamecocks last year. Still
I'm going
salty.
I'm going with North Dakota State too. I just think, I know they lost their quarterback, but this team, they just seem to win every year. And, I really hope that our Jacksonville State Gamecocks gets a shot at playing them again this year. And I think they probably have a really good chance. They've got a lot of players coming back. So, well, that's our picks for this week. And, we appreciate you guys so much tuning in. And, man, there's nothing like high school football.
Exactly.
It's absolutely
so fun to watch.
And, I'm so excited about this season and to see how it shakes out. And, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and we look forward to you coming back and tuning in with us next week. And we'll break down the games from this week, and we'll pick our picks for next week, and we'll see how it shakes out. We appreciate you tuning in again, and God bless each one of you, and we'll see you next week.